Hello and welcome to another episode of Brand Retro. Today we have Jessica Embree, who is an international bestseller, a StoryBrand guide, a marketing specialist, and the creative director for Tulip Media Group. Jessica specializes in helping businesses grow all over North America with clear and impactful marketing campaigns. Jessica, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Good. How are you, Mike?
I'm good. So let's take a deep dive and just start talking about some marketing. I want to hear a little bit more about your story, kind of how your kind of creative path took you to where you are today, and then some of what you're dealing with and what you're focusing on today.
Yeah, so I'm Jessica Embree, creative director and StoryBrand certified guide at Tulip Media Group. And we had a big problem back in 2019 in May that we were spending thousands and thousands of dollars on marketing that just wasn't working for us. And I'm sure as a owner yourself and other businesses can relate, that's really frustrating. So
It's actually frustrating, and it's interesting in that, I'm sure you have this too, but it's interesting in that I think sometimes clients think because you're in marketing or you're a marketing company, I think they think, well, you must have no marketing problems. And I'm like, actually, I have all the same marketing problems that all my clients do. It's just, I kind of know where to go to get the answers.
yeah. And I mean, I call it the curse of knowledge. You've been in the industry for so long that you kind of have horse blinders on that you don't see what the problems are that you're having in your own business. So we took a drastic pivot in 2019 and decided to stop wasting money with cold calls and trade shows that just weren't giving us that ROI. And we completely went digital. We were a print magazine company. We still do that today. We provide custom magazines to businesses all over North America, and we still see the value in that, and a lot of people still do. But we now are on digital side too, providing digital solutions like PPC advertising, website conversion strategies, StoryBrand certified messaging, and everything else that businesses need at the end of the day.
Did you kind of see that transition coming, or was it kind of, your business had led you to the point of, hey, this isn't working and we need to regroup, or kind of how did you get there?
It became very apparent quickly that when our cost of acquisition reached $40,000 per client,
There you go.
yeah, that's a lot, that something had to change. So we got together and we said, okay, what's going to change here? So we stopped cold calling overnight and we started doing better messaging. We had just finished Don Miller's books, Building a Story Brand. We did PPC advertising. So instead of a push strategy with the cold calling and trade shows, we started to do a pull strategy. And overnight, we went from chasing like hundreds of leads that weren't really qualified to 10 people in our pipeline who were qualified and interested in talking to us at the end of the day.
Yeah. And how much of that story brand process and the branding process do you think impacted that kind of the flip of the switch, so to speak, from going to 100 to 10?
StoryBrand affects everything that you do for marketing, and that's the beauty of it. It's not just website messaging, it's clear and concise and impactful messaging that you put out to your core customer. So it's in the Google ads that you do, so people are clicking on them faster and they're more targeted. It's in their Facebook posts that you do. So it trickles down into everything you do. And we saw a quick flip when we started doing story branding for our agency. And then we had clients coming to us who were in the print programs with us saying, hey, what you're doing for your agency is interesting. Can you also do some marketing for us? And we said, okay, we're an integrated marketing agency now. We're doing print and digital.
Did you find yourself in kind of a more authentic place as well? Because that's one of the things I think that, it gets confusing in the marketing world is I think we try to portray certain things, or we have a monkey see, monkey do mindset as to who's doing what, and you try to mimic those behaviors. And it's like, I'm not saying don't pay attention to the competition, but worry about yourself and make sure your messaging and your authenticity and all those different things are accurate. And then you don't have to kind of play the game as hard, and you don't necessarily have to worry about whether or not your message is on point, because if you're accurate and you're authentic, it just will be.
Yeah, I think in this day and age, people love that transparency, that authenticity. You absolutely have to have it. And in terms of what you just said about don't copy what your competitors do, you're just going to be in a funnel of what should I be doing next, waiting for them to make the next move, where you need to make the first move so you can get that market share you're trying to get. So look
Yeah.
at what your competitors are doing, research, look at keywords, how they're getting traffic, but then make your own plan from that and create messaging that's even better, because your product is probably just as good as your competitors. But if people can't find you online or don't resonate with your message, you're not going to win.
Yeah, I think the perception sometimes is those that if my customer or my competitor, I should say, is successful or causing me problems, they must be doing it right. And it's like, well, they might be doing something right. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's that, or it could be something else, or just maybe they got lucky and they landed one big client. I mean, you don't know,
Mm.
but the best place to start is with yourself. And I think from a branding and an authenticity standpoint, yeah, that's the best metric you have.
Yeah, and like Mike Michalowicz says, what's your differentiating factor, and capitalize on that. Be different from your competitors.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you, having gone through that process yourself and obviously taking a good look in the mirror as a company, how do you then translate that to your customers? How have you taken that education and helped them do the same?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, we always want to make this as easy as possible for our clients. And I think I was listening to one of your previous podcasts with Meredith there, and you asked what was the secret sauce. At the end of the day, is it's different for everybody, but at the end of the day, it's clear and impactful messaging. So all of our programs start very similar, but the strategy in itself are different for every client. So we're starting off with that competitive and keyword analysis. We do want to peek behind the curtain, but we're not going to copy your competitors.
Right.
We're going to do that story brand messaging because we believe your storefront needs to be ready for
Yeah.
all the visitors you're about to get. And then from there, we look at the needs and wants of our clients and we say, okay, you're a Gen Z main demographic. Maybe TikTok is something you need to be doing, not LinkedIn, where more of it's B2B professionals. So we really dive into what our clients' needs are. We don't just sell them a package. We look at their goals and their benchmarks at the end of the day. We're very
Yeah.
client focused.
So to dovetail into that, because I want to hear your thoughts on this. I get asked the question often about, well, what's your strategy with this? Or what would you do in this scenario? And I think what they're looking for, in asking that broad of a question is they're looking for that silver bullet marketing answer that just like, here's what I would do in every scenario. And I can never answer it. I always tell them like, it just depends. It depends. It depends. It depends. That's what I always tell them because there's so many variables and every strategy, so to speak, and I'm air quoting strategy, is customized to the person and to their needs and where they're strong and where they're weak and what their differentiator is. And there's so many variables that I think there can be commonalities. And I think the recipe or the formula can be similar from client to client and maybe tweaked, but to just say that there's a silver bullet or one answer that, one size fits all, that's really not the case. And it's getting more and more difficult to even attempt to think that way as we go forward, because now there are so many unique channels and platforms and there are so many variables, but not only that, but there's so many different platforms and tools out there that completely add a new layer of complication to this.
Yeah. And I think people respect that honesty too. Just the other day, someone said, well, what should I be spending on Google? I was like, that depends on your demographic, your industry, what you're trying to achieve with Google. So you could be spending from $1,000 to $10,000. It's really what you want to get out of it at the end of the day. And sometimes people don't like that ambiguous answer, but it's the truth. You don't want to lead them down a path and set expectations that aren't correct.
Right. Because there is no, I mean, in that instance, in that example, there is no answer. It's what should you be spending on Google? Well, there's a lot of factors that I could research to tell you a ballpark range of where you might want to start, but where the break even is or where the profitability is, it's, you got to pay to play and you got to know where you want to start. If your budget's so low that you can't even get in the game, then we're kind of wasting our time. But if your budget is 10,000 a month, then now we've got a place to start. And maybe we don't start at 10, maybe we start at 5 or whatever it is, but you have to come to that conversation with some relevance on what you're willing to give up or what you're willing to spend. Otherwise, the marketer or the person on the other side of that equation has no chance to really lead you to anything.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
So So tell me a little bit about Tulip Media and kind of, I know you've dusted over kind of what you guys do, but tell me kind of where you focus and where your strengths are and how, kind of how all this fits into StoryBrand and kind of the evolution that you guys have made over the last 2 years.
Yeah, so our main specialty is the StoryBrand messaging. We're one of few certified agencies here in Canada. So our main focus is story branding, but we also tie that in with other digital aspects like Google PPC, email newsletters, blogging, just depends on what the client needs. Now, we also have a large clientele that do print marketing, so magazines, a little bit retro there. That brings that credibility, that longevity, and that brand awareness that some clients are looking for. We have a client that are fire truck manufacturers that send out a quarterly newsletter to fire chiefs. Now, you could ask me a lot about fire trucks at this point in my life, but these people find this content valuable, and that's what makes a print marketing successful if it's valuable content to the right people. Actually, it's what makes digital content successful as well.
Yeah, I think just to springboard off that, I spent a lot of years in print and I did a lot of magazine production work. And I think having kind of lived through that and experiencing it, I think there was a time and a place where the narrative was that, oh, print's dying and you got to get out of these things. And we had, whether it was brainwashing or just we gaslight people to believe that this is a truth and it's not. I mean, I think the landscape had changed. I think it had evolved. And I think that, print marketing definitely changed in a way where it was better for some and worse for others. But I don't know that's abnormal in any industry and with any marketing channel. But for those who have still maintained success there or found a reason as to why they should stick with that medium, it's still a very profitable and valuable marketing tool. It just depends on where you're at, what industry you're in, and kind of who you're marketing towards.
I mean, this fire truck manufacturer used to spend $60,000 on trade shows every year. And when COVID hit, there were no trade shows. So they needed that online avenue, but we also integrated that print into it because we still had that value of that tangible product going to fire chiefs all over Canada. So they've since we haven't done a trade show. They haven't met anybody face to face, but they have exceeded and met all their sales targets in the last 2 years.
Right.
They get a lead a week, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but those are $500,000 leads. So
Right.
that's what all they need.
Yep.
So print definitely does have a place for certain clientele, and that's why I love it. It's that credibility. It's giving that beautiful product to a target audience that value that content. That's why I still read the Costco magazine that I get every month at my household because I like Costco. But tying it with that digital marketing, that's what just fuels that fire too, if you do it right.
Yeah. And I think it can either be a primary source of your marketing plan or it could be a supplemental. And that's the beauty of what you guys are doing is for some, it's a primary and then you supplement with the digital or the Facebook or whatever the support mechanism. But it's all about, kind of looking at it as an asset and just trying to figure out where it fits within your marketing plan.
Yeah, and I think you said on a previous podcast, you're talking about billboards aren't necessarily for lead generation, they're for the awareness. And that's what magazines can do for you. It's that top of mind that when people do need insurance or fire truck or anything else, that you're the first thing that comes to their mind. And when they Google you, maybe your ad comes up first. So it's that integrated approach that we really take. And we've seen some really great success for not only print, but in digital too. I mean, some of our clients have gone from 30 leads a day to 80 leads a week. So it's just a matter of looking at what they need, looking at what they want, and making sure that you're providing a plan to them that fits both of those.
Yep. And then you're also then integrating the principles and kind of practices of the story brand
Mhm.
along the way, right? So you're giving the customer kind of a shotgun seat, so to speak, with the whole process, correct?
Exactly. So it trickles down into everything we do. We have a lot of clients that are not only doing that website messaging with us, they're doing the emails, the blogging. So that story brand foundation trickles down into there. We're talking about the problem the customer's having. Listen, realize marketing is frustrating and overwhelming. Here at Tulip Media, we're going to provide you with custom solutions. Like we talk about the problem, the solution, and we give them a clear call to action at the end of the day that they're going, yeah, I need to talk to these people.
Yeah. And newsflash, I've said this on other podcasts, but the marketing landscape is an evolving and moving landscape.
Yeah.
It's going to be different every day. It's going to be different every year. And there's a lot of, again, there's a lot of consistencies that we can apply as marketers to try to sustain some sense of control and visibility and kind of, using the same tools in the toolbox. But just so the customers know, and anybody that's like, well, why is it so hard? It just is. It's a moving landscape and it's always changing. So what we do is it's important that we stay on top of the different tactics and tools and different ways to try to maintain that consistency. Because that's why you find good companies like Tulip Media or CyberDogs or whatever, is because they've found a recipe to at least sustain the 80+% consistency that they need to get the consistent results that they want.
Yeah. And I remember when my founder and I were writing our book, Double Sales, Zero Salespeople, we got together and we go, we don't have a chapter on optimization because a lot of us forget that we can't just set it and forget it. We have to continue to look at the metrics, be like, okay, why is no one converting on this? Or why is this click rate down? Like we have to continue to look at that and optimize, like you just said. We can't just expect to throw spaghetti at a wall and hope it sticks.
Yeah, I always give the analogy of like working out or something. So like if you want really good results in the gym, you can't just lift and you can't just do cardio and you can't just eat right and you can't just like you can throw all the power bars you want in your bag when you take it to work, but you're not going to get the desired results. It's a combination of all those different things. And then depending on what your goals are, you might do more cardio than lifting, or more lifting than cardio, or maybe it's more about diet for you. Maybe you got a sweet tooth and you got to knock it off. I don't know, but you have to figure out the dynamic of those pieces and make those proper adjustments. It's the same with, running an ad campaign or making sure your website is optimized and you're pushing the content through some kind of a flow that gets it in the right place at the right time. So many times, and it's not their fault because they maybe don't know any better, but so many times clients come to us and they're only doing 2 out of the 3 things. And it's that one piece that they're missing that we're able to say, well, hey, here's your gap. Now let's come back to this and kind of realign things. And maybe then we can kind of do what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's just a missing piece of the puzzle that is just holding them back from getting those goals that they're trying to achieve. But sometimes you need that third party. It goes back to that curse of knowledge that you've been in the industry for so long, you're using jargon that no one understands, or you're making things complicated. That third party perspective will give you what you need to get the goals that you're trying to achieve and get the sales that you're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. So tell me about the book. Is that out? Can we buy it? Can anybody order it? Where can we find it?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually the audiobook just came out this week, but the book's been released since last year. It became an international bestseller overnight. So we were quite excited about that. It's called Double Sales, Zero Salespeople. I wrote it with my president and founder, Andy Biting. And it's about our journey that Tulip took and how we flipped the switch and started calling people every day to getting inbounds every day. So really turning around our business and how we extended that to our client partners. And it also showcases kind of a bit of our secret sauce too on how we did that. So every chapter will tell you how to look at your core customer or how to launch a Google Ads campaign or the power of print. So we walk you through that step-by-step process as well, while giving you a few tips and pointers along the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. It's pretty cool. So let me throw one question at you because I get asked this sometimes from other clients. I have other clients who have written books and have gone down that road as well. And they ask the question, well, what's the difference whether I do a blog series or a book or whatever the case is? And I always answer the same, is that I think a book provides you a certain level of credibility. And I think the book kind of makes you an authority in your space, but it also forces you to up your game because now you have to live up to the expectation that this book has now given you.
Yeah.
Having written the book, tell me a little bit about how it's changed your role and your experience at Tulip and whether or not you agree with that, is that true? I mean, that's how I've believed it and what I've seen through some of my clients, that I think it's a great tool, but you got to kind of play the game then as well.
I think you said it exactly. Writing a book, it's stressful because you want to make sure the information you're providing is valuable, you're helping out other businesses, but it does bring you a sense of credibility that you've never had before. So, yes, I'm a StoryBrand certified guide, I'm Google Ads certified, but I've now written a best-selling book. Like that's it's weird with me. That's odd to me, but I have to own that. That imposter syndrome is got to go out the window. That's who I am now. And that compared to a blog, we still blog every day. We see the value of that, but now this is just a new workhorse that we're promoting to not only help businesses, but to promote our business as well.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. And I do recommend to my clients, if they've got the content, they've got the unique perspective and kind of the juice to back it up. I'm like, yeah, write a book, because it does change things. Obviously, you want it to be good and you want it to be valuable and full of substance. So it's not for everybody, but for those who, have kicked the idea down the road, they should take a good hard look at it, because I think from a business perspective, it can mean a lot of good things too.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And if you're open to it, I'd love to have you on again.
I would love that, Mike. This was so much fun. Thank you for
Awesome.
having me.
Thank you so much.
If you'd like to learn more about CyberDogs, share your thoughts, or even ask a specific question about this episode and/or the brand retro mindset, contact me directly at mike@cyberdogsmarketing.com.